Hi, my name is Leno Furtado. I'm a PhD student from the Federal University of Pará, and I present the paper A Teaching Proposal for the Software Management Process Using Gamification, an Experimental Study. This research was supervised by the Professor and Dr. Sandro Oliveira. Our agenda consists of an introduction, related works, the gamification itself, the experiment that was conducted by applying this gamification in a classroom, the results obtained in the experiment, a discussion about the strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, and threats of this research, and conclusions. The software management process aims to collect, store, analyze, and report the data in order to support organizational objectives. This, which means software management are used as to support decision making and for software process improvement programs, which this highlighted the importance of this software process. However, the software industry has been hesitant to apply efficient measurement programs, as pointed out by Jones. This due to the fact that the main professionals of the area are unaware of this topic. This problem lies in the teaching of this subject, like Iverson, Diasley, and Loper points out in their studies. They highlighted a lot of difficulties of the field, but two are more attractive to us, which are little exploring the syllabus of undergraduate students, little incentive among the students in the learning of these practices. This incentive, we want to incentive the student to learn more about this software management topic by the use of gamification and serious games. These techniques has a lot of advantage, like to rescue the pleasure in learning, a safe environment where the student can learn by the trial and the error, to promote socialization among students. In our study, we conducted two experiments. The first one with 15 students in the second half of 2017, and the second one with 7 students in the second half of 2018. The most relevant for our study, the most relevant related work to our study was the one presented by Van Geheim and Konchansky, in which they present a serious game to teach software management by applying the GKM paradigm. We use the serious games in our experiment, in the first one and the second one. The gamification. To develop or build a gamification has a lot of frameworks to do this. We choose to do by the framework proposed by Warbach and Hunter in their book called For the Win. The framework presented by them is divided in 6 steps. We're gonna give emphasis in the more interesting ones. Define business objective. We define that our objective was to mitigate social dynamics in classroom. The second step, outline target behaviors. To outline the target behaviors, we choose a setting of rules. This setting was divided in 2 groups. The first one was the positive interaction classes, and the second one, the negative interaction classes. Let's see then. The first set of rules was the positive interaction classes, which means if the students do whatever of one of these dimensions, they earn points in the score. They will increase their score. If they attend classroom, they get initiatives in classroom, give suggestions in classroom, participation in classroom, questions, arrive early, and class or extra class activities. And the students lost points or decrease their score if they do any of these dimensions, like miss class without communication, miss class with warning, 10 minutes of delay, and penalties in general. Penalties, as example, is an inconvenient activity during the class time, like to chatting or to use the cell phone or computer tablet. And the students lost 2 points and decreased their score in 2 points. Well, we have 2 experiments, and we observe in the first one some improvement points, like the inclusion of the mechanics of achievements by giving medals to students who reach certain milestones. And in the first experiment you just were using the game elements of points and the leaderboards. In the second one, we choose to increase these game elements by adding the badge game element. The experiment have a total of 8 days of length and 2 days of theoretical classes, 2 days of practical classes, 1 day of theoretical evaluation, 2 days for practical evaluation, and 1 day for feedback classes. A class monitor participated as judge. And during our experiment, a judge, a person, a volunteer, observed the students and increase or decrease the score by their behavior. The experiment, a pre-questionnaire. The pre-questionnaire was the moment that we choose to understand the profile of our students and to see the previous knowledge in software measurement field. After that, we apply a theoretical classes and a practical activities to reinforce the theoretical knowledge. A practical evaluation where you use a dojo handori to the students develop and apply their software measurements in practice. A theoretical evaluation, a post-questionnaire where you identify the leap between the beginning of the experiment and at the end of the experiment to evaluate the self-perceived knowledge in software measurement in the beginning of the experiment and at the end of the experiment. And the feedback class was the moment in the students where the student can express their thoughts about the experiment. As the results obtained, we have the qualitative analysis where the students in the post-questionnaire evaluated our research, our experiment. In the first experiment, we can see that the criteria applied to content, soft sequence of topics, difficulty level, duration, teaching method, exercises, all these criteria were between good and excellent, where the second experiment were between regular and good. And as quantitative analysis, we have 2 points that is more interesting. The top 3 students of the leaderboard didn't miss any classes and didn't get late. This can be is indicating that the gamification served as an intrinsic motivation to keep those in the lead focus. Other interesting point was for the initiative dimension. In the first class, the students have only 5 of this interaction classroom. In the second experiment, only 12. But in the third class, this interaction was increased by 9 times, which means that the experiment 1 has 45 interactions of initiative in class, and the second experiment doubled their interaction by initiative. Some strengths of our proposal was the gamification itself. When you use gamification in classroom, we are teaching by doing, because the students are learning how to measure and are being measured at the same time by the gamification. And the one concept reinforce other. Weakness go beyond PBL. We just use points-based and leaderboards. We know that gamification has much more to offer. And conclusion, we have a generic contribution. The gamification gave us a generic contribution by mitigating social dynamics, which allows the students to learn from the others and from the teacher in class. And a specific contribution of gamification is that gamification is a form of measurement itself. In addition, we had a lot of limitations. Some of them are the high complexity of practical tasks. we have to balance more the proposal, how we address the gamification to make more attractive proposal to the next iteration. As future works will increase, will use all the results obtained from the first and the second experiment as basis for the third experiment, and we intend to develop a serious game of our own to apply in our classes. And finally, as stated by Costa and Wright, games in the end are the teachers and the fun is another word for learning. Thanks.